All right, so let's begin here. Requirement number one is to define the following terms. So we're gonna make some definitions, okay? For example, what is a bite? Well, it's not a bite that you bite. It's a B-I-G-H-T, okay? And basically it means that you make a loop, or yeah, this is a bite, a loop going around. That's a bite. Okay? So in this honor, whenever you hear the word bite, we're talking about a loop, okay? So that's what bite means, a loop. So you can see the sample here. There's a bite and a bite here. All right, next term is running end or working end. So when you're working on a knot, you have your working end, which is your tip, and then you have the long part, which is your, well, we'll get into that right now. But the working, this is the one that's going to be going around and in and out, and doing all the work. So it's called the running end or working end, the one that goes around. Okay. So that's what this means. This part, the short part, the one that's going to work. That's the running end. What's this long part called? The other part, the long part, is called the standing part. Okay, so this is the standing part. This is my working end or running end, the tip here, the one that's going to work. And the one I'm holding with this hand, the long one, that's my standing part. Okay, so standing part means the long part of the rope, or the end that doesn't move. Because remember, the working end is the one that's going to move, but the standing part is going to stay still. Okay. Underhand loop. Okay. So basically, an underhand loop is a loop where the rope goes under the standing part. So the running end goes under the standing part. Okay. So if you have a rope and you go under, that's an under loop. So it's very important that you remember this word, because in this honor, when I say an underhand loop, I mean under the rope, not over, but under. Okay. So if you have a rope and you go under, that's an under loop, underhand loop. Okay. So if you go under, so you have it, right? But if you go under, that's an underhand loop. On the contrary, we have the next term. The next term is overhand loop. That's the opposite. Yes, if you go in front, okay? If you go in front of the rope, that's an overhand loop. Underhand, under the standing part, overhand, over the standing part. The next term we're defining is turn. What is a turn? Okay, in knot tying, a turn is when you turn the rope over some type of an object, whether it's a ring or around the standing part of the rope itself. Whenever your rope goes in and turns around on something, that's called a turn. Okay, so you can see the picture here. So first we have going inside the loop, then we have a turn, and then we have another turn. Well, we have turn, and then we have two turns. So a turn is when you run your running end through a ring or a stick or another rope, and you create turns. Bend. Okay, this is another word that we're going to be using a lot. Bend. Bend is a loop or loops that are used to tie two ropes together. So like, for example, on the sheet bend knot or on the square knot, those are bends, because you're creating loops to tie two ropes together. A hitch, again, another word that we're going to be using a lot. What's a hitch? Okay. A hitch is a knot that is used to tie a rope to a pole or a ring, such as the clove hitch. Hitches can also be used to tie one rope onto another rope. as in the rolling hitch. Splice. No, it's not splice, surprise. No, it's splice, S-P-L-I-C-E. Okay, so this is a special type of knot or tying of a rope where you take a rope and you loosen the strands. You see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6. You take the strands and then you make a loop and you interweave it into the same rope here. That's called a splice. Okay, it takes a lot more time, but it's a very strong. This is going to be a very strong loop, right? Because it's weaved into the same rope. Whipping. Whipping is when you want to secure the tip or the end of a rope so that the threads don't become loose. Okay, so what you do is you tie a whip around it, like you see here. Okay, and we're gonna take a look at that right now.
Whipping is done to prevent a rope's end from fraying, especially natural fibre ropes that you can't fuse together with heat like you can on synthetic ropes. The easiest form is probably common whipping, which is the one we're going to be doing today. So to do this, we're just going to take twine today.
Okay, so you're using very thin rope, which is called twine, to do the whipping.
I want to take a bite out of this twine and just lay it on top of the rope with the bite facing the end. And then if you notice, the lay of this rope is going in this direction. I'm going to start whipping in the opposite direction, or taking my wraps in the...
Okay, did you hear what he said? If the strand is going to the right, he's going to start whipping to the left. So you go the opposite way.
Opposite direction. So once I've laid out this bite, I'm just going to take the long end of the twine and start taking wraps. Take the wraps quite tightly and keep the wraps close together as well. Once we've taken about 4 or 5 wraps, I just want to grab this bite and then take out any of the slack that I initially had. You can see that slack getting pulled in. Take that slack out without deforming the wraps. Once you've done that, just continue with your wraps, and we'll continue until you've done about 1 to 1.5 times the rope diameter, which is about there. And then I just want to snip the end and tuck it up through that loop. And then okay,
let me just back it up a little bit. There we go.
Tuck it up through that loop.
Put it through the loop.
And then I'm going to grab this end of the twine and just pull that loop closed. And then once I've closed it up, I want to take that little elbow and pull it right underneath the whipping here, just to make sure all these coils stay secure. So I'm just going to pull that under, and you want to try and pull it until it gets about to the middle of this whipping. You just have to sort of judge that for yourself, how far under it's gone. Then I'm just going to grab both ends, make sure it's tight, and then I just need to snip both ends off to trim it up. And that's it. That's your whipping done.
Let's go to requirement number 2. Know how to care for a rope. It is very important. Ropes are not cheap. Okay? If you want a good rope, it's going to cost you, but it's going to last a long time if you take care of it. If you let it rot, If you let it sit out in the sun, it's not gonna last. So you wanna take care of your ropes. Remember that when you go camping or you're gonna do hiking or you're gonna do rappelling, ropes are going to save you from falling, okay? A, keep the rope clean. You can use a large bucket or if you wanna use your tub. I wouldn't advise using your tub unless your rope is not too dirty. But if it's too dirty, maybe you wanna use a big what did I say? Bucket, a big bucket. Yeah. So fill your tub with warm water, not hot water, just warm water. Add cleaner. Okay. You can wash your rope with water only, but if your rope is especially dirty, add the rope specific cleaner. So, you know, if you go to Home Depot and you go to the rope area, they're going to have some cleaners there for so that you can clean your rope. Or if you go to a camping store, what do you call those? Surplus stores or camping stores, they have them there too. Okay. But remember to follow the instructions on the bottle so that you won't over clean it or put too much of it. Or you can use like dish soap, small amounts of mild soap such as Dawn or whatever dish soap you use. But if you're able to get the rope cleaner, it's better. Okay, because it's made exactly for ropes. So that's A, keep the rope clean at all times. B, always coil a rope before storing it. Okay. And coiling a rope is very, very, very simple. And it could be a 3-strand, a 4-strand, or 5-strand rope. You go around the rope, and well, I guess I should show you the video, huh?
Jason here. So if you're tired of dealing with the tangled mess of your ropes, then this video is for you. I'm going to show you how to coil a rope, and it's probably the easiest way to coil rope, and it works with any size, any thickness, any length of rope. All right, so here we go. All right, so for longer, thicker ropes, all you need to do is stand and grip the one end of the rope so that the tail end is hanging out away from you and your palm is facing down. Okay, so now bend your arm up and your tail end is going to be facing in with your palm facing it. All right, so now from there, all we're going to do is we're going to cross our forearm and go behind and then start doing figure eights. Okay. Now bend your arm up and your tail end is going to be facing in with your palm facing it. All right, so now from there, all we're going to do is we're going to cross our forearm and go behind and then start doing figure eights. Okay. All right, all we have to do is go back and forth, weave one way, then the other. All right, so now I'm at the point where I've got, a good length of rope left over, and all I'm going to do is pull my elbow out, and I'm going to keep holding on to that top loop. I'm going to take the rest of the rope, I'm going to go around it, I'm going to work my way downwards of the coil first, and then I'm going to work my way back up. So we're going to start working my way back up now. And then when I have a decent amount, I'm just going to make a bite. Okay, so a bite's just a bend in the rope. I'm going to push that bite through the loop where my hand was. And I'm going to pull that top loop of the rope through that bite, and then I'm going to pull it tight. A decent amount, I'm just going to make a bite. Okay, so a bite's just a bend in the rope. I'm going to push that bite through the loop where my hand was. And I'm going to pull that top loop of the rope through that bite, and then I'm going to pull it tight. Okay, so now from there, if we want, we can go around again. We can make another bite, and we can do it again. Now that's what the rope looks like when we're all finished. It's nice and tidy.
So remember, always coil a rope before storing it. Now, before you coil a rope, you have to make sure that it's dry. Make sure that the rope is not wet. And that's the next point. Make sure wet rope is dry before coiling it. So how can you dry a rope? Well, you just lay it out in the sun, or where there's air flowing, so that it dries. Letter D, return rope to its proper place after using it. Okay, so you want to store your rope. Don't just throw it anywhere. Put it in a place where it's going to be safe, stored, and where you have easy access to it. All right, let's move on to requirement number 3. Describe the difference between laid rope and braided rope, and list 3 uses of each. Okay, so there's 2 types of ropes, a laid rope and a braided rope. Let's take a look at that. Let's look at the laid rope first. In a laid rope, 3 bundles of fiber or twine are twisted in the same direction, placed close to each other and allowed to twist together. So this is a laid rope. You see here, there's 3 strands, right? And those are twisted together. That's why the tips can become loose very easily on a laid rope. So these are called, each one is called a strand, and the material that the strands are made is called yarn. And then the rope is called rope. All right, and it's very easy to do. You can make your laid rope very easily. You get 3 strands of yarn and you twist them together and you got a rope. Okay, a laid rope repels water easier and it's able to withstand immense strain. Can be spliced with standard techniques. Remember splice, what we talked about, the term splice? That's when you weave it into the same rope. Remember that? So laid ropes are used to tug boats, because they can take a lot of strain, a lot of pressure. So if you want a strong rope, you can't go wrong with a laid rope, okay? And it repels water easy because it doesn't have too many strands. It only has 3 strands. Braided rope. Okay, so braided rope is a little bit more complicated. It has an inner core that's made out of yarn. It has an inner core that's made out of yarn, and then you have an outer shell also made out of yarn. So for example, here I have a braided rope, you see? It's woven into, okay? And if you want to splice it, you take it apart, different strands, and then you tie them in together to make a splice loop, okay? Okay, so you see here, this one, I would have to cut this one and just use the different strands. They sell special needles that you can use to strand, and we'll see that in a few minutes. But this is a braided rope. You see how different it is from the laid rope? Okay, because it's braided. It's woven together. And it's woven around a core material. So if you take this rope or a rope like this and you take it apart, inside of it, you're gonna see a core made out of yarn like this. And wrapped around the core is the outside part, the outer shell. Now, braided ropes work well if you use them for pulleys or to rig something. Here they're using a laid rope, you see, but you can also use braided ropes. Braided ropes are good for pulleys. They're also good for lassos, to use as lasso. And they make nice, decorative knots. But again, a laid rope is also very strong. A laid rope is stronger than the braided rope, believe it or not. All right, requirement number 4, identify the following types of rope. Okay, so we have different types of rope or materials, right? This is the Manila rope. Remember I was telling you that it becomes undone from the tips very easy, so a lot of people put tape on the endings. so it doesn't become undone. And the reason why it's called Manila rope is because there's a abaca leaves in the Philippines, and they produce a lot of abaca leaves. And out of the abaca leaves, they make the rope. They make the material for the rope, and it's very durable, flexible, and resistant to salt water damage. So that's why it's called a Manila rope, because it originated in the Philippines with the use of the abaca leaves. So A, Manila rope. That's one type of rope. Then we have the sisal rope, or sisal rope, or sisal rope, whatever you want to call it. And this one's made out of the agave plant, Agave sisalana plant. That is similar to the Manila rope, but it's more economical than the Manila rope and provides great knot holding ability and is sunlight resistant. So it's sort of like the Manila rope, but it's made out of a different plant. It's made out of the sisalana plant. Okay, so this one's a little bit easier to make knots. The other one, though, the Manila, is really tough for knots. You can't make knots very good. They become undone. C, nylon rope. Okay. This is known for its elasticity and ability to absorb tremendous shock loads. What kind of rope is this? This is a laid rope, you see, but it's made out of nylon. That's the material, nylon. Nylon rope is often white, but any color is possible. It has smooth, silky feeling to it, and it coils easily. Nylon rope does not float in water. It is a synthetic fiber rope. Polypropylene rope. You've seen this one also everywhere. You know, it's like a plastic rope. This is also a synthetic rope. Polypropylene rope is most often yellow, though any color is possible. It is often used in marine applications because it floats in water. The rope is sometimes difficult to tie as it is somewhat stiff and brittle. It is a synthetic fiber rope. What are some advantages or disadvantages of synthetic rope? Okay, so let's look at this. Improved abrasion resistance. So the synthetic rope doesn't break or tear very easy. It resists UV rays from the sun better. It's lighter. Length does not vary as much when wet. You know, ropes change texture when they get wet. Some get fluffy, some don't. Well, synthetic ropes do not change when they get wet. They remain the same. And they're rot resistant. They don't rot easily because it's made out of synthetic material. Ropes that are made out of natural materials rot easier. Okay, so those are the advantages of a synthetic rope. Disadvantages. Some synthetic ropes do not hold knots well. Yeah, because they're kind of slippery, so the knots become undone. More slippery, melts when heated, stretches more than natural ropes. So if you don't want a rope to stretch while you're putting pressure on it, then you don't want to use a synthetic rope. So these are the disadvantages of a synthetic rope. Requirement number 6, do the following to a rope. Okay, so this is a requirement that requires you to do something with a rope. Notice that it says do the following to a rope. It doesn't say do one of the following. It says do the following. So you got to do all of these. A, B, C, and finish with the D. Splice. We talked about the splice, but we're going to look at it right now. Eye splice, back splice, and you're going to finish with a whipping. We talked about whipping already, remember? So let's take a look at how we do a splice. Please pay attention. You undo the strands of the rope, you put them together, and then you start weaving them in one strand at a time. Okay. You do the same thing with the other side. You weave it in. And then you can either tie, you can whip these at the end. You can put a whipping here and a whipping here. And this tie is going to be super strong. Okay, so now let's take that was a simple splice. Now we're going to look at an eye splice, which is with a loop. Okay, so let's take a look at that.
To do this,
So basically what he's going to do, he's going to do a loop, what's called an eye splice. You see right here, eye splice. He's going to make a loop and he's going to put these 3 strands, he's going to braid them in through here. Okay, watch.
you just want to unravel your 3 strands, and if you're using synthetic
So he puts a piece of tape down here so that it doesn't become undone anymore. Okay.
rope, just burn the edges off so they don't fray, and if you're using natural fiber rope, you can just use electrical tape and tape the ends off.
This is a synthetic rope because you can burn it. You see here? So he's using a synthetic rope.
And then what I've done is I've just unraveled about 20 centimeters here, and then I've just taped this section off so it doesn't unravel any further. Now what you want to do is just give your rope a bit of a shake and let the fibers fall where they naturally want to fall, and you'll get a left, a middle and a right strand. And then locate how big you want your loop to be. So I want it about here, and then just point it out where you want it, and then open up that very top part. Just open it up, and that's where you're going to make your first tuck, which will be the center strand. So I'm going to pull the center strand through that top tuck and pull it tight. Now the 2 other strands, the left and the right. The left one wants to go up through the next one up on the standing part of the rope. So the center one went through here. The next one wants to go on the next one up, which will be this one here. Open it up, push it through, and now for the right hand strand, we want to go through the strand down on this standing part. So the center one went through this one. We want to go through the one down, which will be this one. So open that one up and then tuck the right hand strand through there. That's the hardest part done, is getting your first 3 strands through the correct position. Once you get the first bit correct, the rest is relatively easy. All we want to do for the next bit is an over-under weave, weaving into this part of the rope. Try not to weave these parts together, otherwise your splice is not going to work. Always make sure that your weave comes into this part of the rope. So the first bit is pretty easy. Everything should look pretty neat. We'll take our center strand again and we want to go over, under. So where we want to go under, we'll open it up, tuck it through. Go to the left side, left strand, have a look at what's going on, get the other strands out of the way, over, under. So once you've located where you want to go under, open it up, push it through. Now the very right hand side, we'll just spin that around And we again want to do an over under weave, and this is where you can mess up a little bit. You might be tempted to go over this one and under this one, but if you look closely, this one is actually connected to our loose end. It's not connected to this part of the line. So we want the strand we weave through to be part of this part of the rope. So it's over, and then this strand will be the one that's connected to this part of the rope. So we'll go through that section. And that's the second lot of braiding done. And for synthetics, you'd continue that for 5 tucks. I've done 2. You do 3 more, and for natural fibre you can do 3 or 4 and it should hold. It's just that synthetic rope's normally a little bit more slippery. And that's pretty much the eye splice. Just continue that along the rope, cut and burn off the edges when you're done, and then take the tape off.
And now let's take a look at the back splice. Sorry. Secures end of twisted rope. And it can end with a whipping or with a crown knot. Okay, so you have that. You tie it here, you have your strands. Then you tilt them back and you fold one in. You fold the other one over that one and across to the back, towards the back. And then you're going to take this one and go through that first one. Through that first one, you go through that and you pull tightly. And that creates a knot. That creates a knot there. Watch it again. So you have your 3 strands of the same rope, right? This is a laid rope, right? It has 3 strands. So you open them like this, 1, 2, 3, and then you take your center one and you're going to bring it in this way. Bring it in that way. And you leave like a little loop, right? You leave a little loop because you're going to put this one through there, right? But then you go to the one at the top and you put that one over and you pull it back. You pull it this way. And there's the little loop that this one's going to go through, right? So then you take this one, you put it through the loop and you pull all 3 of them. And then what you do is you bring all 3 strands back. So then you start weaving. You start weaving the rope there. You go to your first strand, then the second strand, then the third strand. But this time it's a little bit different because they all go through the same area, okay? You notice that? So once you do your knot here, your crown knot, then you go in there, take the next rope, which is the top one or the bottom one, it doesn't matter. And you go to the next strand right here and you put it through. And then you take the top one and you put it on the next, on the other side of the strand. And this time you go over. You can see you went up in. This one went under, up, and this one went in, up, over, in, right? Let's watch it one more time. This one, oops. This one goes into the first strand, the one that's at the top, right? This strand. The next one goes on the second strand down here and it goes under it. Watch. You see? Under it. And then this one is going to go through this one here, but it's going to go in and out. And you keep doing the same thing and the same thing and the same thing, same strand until you finish. And then you can whip it. You can whip the rope there. And this is called a back splice because you're splicing backwards. First, you make a knot here, which is called a crown knot. You make a crown knot here, and then you start doing the weaving. Here's another big requirement, guys. This is not an easy honor. Well, it is an easy honor if you work at it, but you have to work at it. Make a 6-foot piece of 3-strand twisted rope from native materials or twine. What do we mean by this? You're gonna do a 6-foot rope, and you're gonna do a laid rope. Remember the laid rope? Let's go back to the laid rope. Remember this rope? You guys are gonna make a 6-foot rope, laid rope, but it has to be out of natural materials. So you're gonna bind some type of twine or not too thick rope, and you're gonna put 3 strands together, like you see here in the picture. In other words, you're gonna do this. Okay, let's pretend these are twines, right? Out of natural material. You're gonna put 3 of them together. You're gonna put 3 of them together like that. Okay, all the way through. It has to be a 6-foot rope, okay? And then you're gonna start twisting the rope. Twisting the rope, twisting the rope, twisting the rope, twisting the rope. Once you have this twisted here, you might want to tape it, and you're going to continue twisting the rope until you create a 3-strand. You see how I'm doing a rope right there? You see? Okay. So I put a tape around this once I have and then I continue twisting until I do a complete twist on the rope. And you have to make sure that the strands are twisting not on top of each other, okay? Just like that, you see? Requirement number 8, for those of you who are doing the whole honor, you need to do 20 knots. For those of you who are not doing the full honor, so let's say, for example, you're in friends or companion, not sure which one. I think for friends, you require 10 knots. And for companion or explorer, you require 20 knots or 15 knots. I'm not sure. But if you're doing the whole honor, you got to do everything. You got to do you got to do the 20 knots, you got to do the splices, and you got to do the rope. If you just need some knots, then those of you who learn or practice 10 knots, you're done. But those of you who are doing the full honor, you got to do 20 knots. Does everybody have a rope? Again, if you're coming to a knot honor, you got to have some rope. You got to have some rope. It's called the square knot or the reef knot. And basically, so you have, and it's used to tie two ropes together. You can do it, you can do it with the same rope, 2 ends, but you can tie 2 ropes together. So what you do is right hand under, left hand top, okay? So you do a cross like this. Right hand under, left hand top, okay? And then you're gonna make a knot. So right hand, this is your working end. Right hand under, in. Wait a minute. Okay. So again, under, over, and you're gonna do in like that. Just 1 loop. Back goes in, and you have 1, right? Okay, next, again, you're working in your right hand. You're gonna go over, left, over, left. So you're gonna go over, in, and there's your reef knot or square knot. Very simple.
Bind 2 ropes together of identical diameter and similar composition, and it is for light duty only. Left over right. So I'm going to go ahead and take the right hand rope, put it over the left, and give myself the first turn. And that is going to be half your knot right there. That is your first overhand knot. Now give yourself a little bit of slack to finish out the rope. The more you practice, the more you'll be able to gauge how much you really need. Now we started out with right over left. We're going to finish off with left over right. Go ahead and take that left hand rope, go back under, make that second twist, and you're going to snug up the knot.
Slip knot, this is very, very, very common, very used. And it's called it's considered as known as a stopper knot. It is a knot that will tighten under load and which can be easily untied by pulling on the running end. So it's called a slip knot because it slips. Okay, very simple. Working end, standing end. Okay, so you have your working end. Working end under, working end under, and then you let go of the loop and you reach inside and you pull the standing end. And then you hold both together and there's your slip knot. And it's called slip knot because it slips. The clove hitch. The clove hitch, it's a general utility knot when you need a quick, simple method of fastening a rope around a post or a stake or something that's okay. So I got my little stick here. Hope you guys can see it. So the clove hitch, or in Spanish we call it ballestrinque. The clove hitch is to tie a rope around a pole. Okay. So let me show you step by step real quick. By the way, when you start a lashing, this is how you start a lashing. You start a lashing with a clove hitch. You know, when you're doing constructions and you're doing a lashing, you start with a clove hitch. So you get a rope, here's your working end. Here's your working end. You're gonna put it over and then you're gonna go and make a cross like that. See? You're gonna make a cross like that. So you make a cross like that. Okay, so you're going here and you're crossing like that. And then you're getting your working end and you're just putting it through here. And then you put them together. And then you pull hard. And that's your clove hitch. Very simple. And again, the clove hitch is used to tie a rope to a pole or a tree or, you know, whatever. And it's used to start a lashing. When you're doing constructions, you start with the clove hitch and then you do your diagonal lashing, your circular lashing, your square lashing, whatever you need to do. Pastor Kevin, would you please lead us in prayer, please?
Sure. Let's pray. Dear Lord, thank you for this class today. Thank you for our instructor, Jose. Thank you for the excellent job and the many things that we learned. We pray that not only will this help us toward earning the honor and our investiture achievement class requirements, but these are skills that we'll be able to use for the rest of our life. Thank you for being with us today. We pray that you'll be with each Pathfinder and each club represented here. We pray in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.